Hey, happy Friday afternoon. It is Drawing Live with Marshall Ramsey here on Mississippi Today. I want to thank you for joining us. It has been a little bit of a hiatus. We took some time off, but we're back. We're going to be doing this every Friday at noon. So make sure that you tune in. It's Drawing Live with Marshall Ramsey, and we're going to be talking and doing some drawing today and talking a little bit about Thanksgiving. So anyway, make sure you spread the word. Let them know about Drawing Live with Marshall Ramsey here on Mississippi Today's Facebook page. We're going to be doing this, like I said, every Friday. Let people know. I tell you what, we're coming on into Thanksgiving week. I know a lot of kids are kind of getting excited because they're going to have a little bit of time off for the holidays. I know I'm getting excited. I'm going to take a day off or two, and that'll be a lot of fun. So I thought today we might actually do a little bit of drawing about Thanksgiving. And we're going to do that in just in 2 seconds here a little bit. But I'm really excited to let you know that we have a sponsor for Drawing Live with Marshall Ramsey here on Mississippi Today's Facebook page. And I wanted to say that our good friends at Trust Care for Kids have now become the first official sponsor for this live drawing session that we're going to be doing every Friday at noon. And let me tell you a little bit about Trust Care for Kids. They are coming to Gluckstadt in mid-January, and they will be open 7 days a week. It'll be a state-of-the-art facility that will serve kids only. Sorry, even big kids like me, just kids. And so for more information, you can visit their Facebook page, but I want to thank my good friends over at Trust Care for being a sponsor of today's live drawing event. So we're going to talk turkey, I guess, today would be a good thing to talk about, and we're going to be getting ready for Thanksgiving. How many of you are actually ready for Thanksgiving this year? Have you already got your menu planned out? Are you keeping it small this year? Are you not traveling? Let me know. Carry on that conversation. Hey, Philip, I'm glad you're watching. Thank you today. Kathy, it's good to have you on board, and Donna too. And so y'all make sure you make the comments because, well, to be honest with you. Hey, by the way, I just want to make sure, does everything look and sound good on camera? Is everything the right direction? So we just want to make sure everything's good. That's not sideways or something. So there we go, because it's been a while. So does that look good? Give me a nod, a bump, and we'll get started here in just a second. I just want to make sure that everything is good. Hey, Audrey, how are you? Thank you for watching today. We're going to have a good show. So I tell you what, the Ramsey family, we thought we would go. I thought I'd have my sisters in and their families, but as the numbers started coming up a little bit, they're going to kind of stay off and do with their immediate families, and we're going to do the same thing for ours too. And Amy's been really super busy lately, so we're going to kind of pare down our menu a little bit, but we're still going to have a good Thanksgiving because we have a lot to be thankful for this year. I know, you're thinking right now, Marshall, you hit your head. That's why you've been gone for the last couple months and have not done this. It's because you've lost your mind. No. You know, it's interesting. This is going to be our drawing page. And just to kind of give you a hint, this is a piece of Bristol board. It's 11 by 14. You can get these pretty much at pretty much any store that sells art supplies. It's pretty common. But that's what we'll be drawing on today. Back to 2020 though, and Thanksgiving, and I always love Thanksgiving. I tend to believe that Thanksgiving should be 365 days a year. And so I think that we should always find gratitude. And I tell you what, this year I think gratitude is our secret weapon and is going to be our armor through a lot of things. So we're going to do a Thanksgiving themed drawing today. Remember when we were kids? I know, a long time ago for me, but how we would draw turkeys and how we would, lay the hand down and kind of do this. And then there's your turkey. Man, I got a big hand. So that was how we would draw turkeys in kindergarten, right? And then we would color the feathers red and all that. It's like that. It's like this. That's a pretty funny looking turkey, right? Well, I think so too. Well, we're going to draw more of a Marshall flavored turkey this time. Not one that looks like me, although technically I guess most turkeys do. So what I start to do generally is I start with the head. And turkeys always have this little thing that kind of goes over their beak like this. And then have his mouth open. So we got the beak and the nose. How are y'all coming? So what I'm drawing with is the Stadler calligraphy pen. You know, it's funny because Amy and I have done a little bit of work around the house, and things have been packed up. And I honestly could not find my drawing stuff this morning when I was looking for it. So I draw electronically now, so it's always a little bit different. Hey, Michael, welcome. Glad you're watching. Hey, by the way, share the word. Let people know that we're back. I know we had big audiences earlier on in the spring, and of course, I took a little bit of a hiatus because of some back issues and because I was lazy. But we are back, and I want to thank Trust Care Kids once again for being a sponsor of today's show. So Mr. Turkey here has some eyes. I always give him Google eyes. It's always a lot of fun. So you got to give him a head here. And of course, he's got the turkey neck. Now, so I put a thing on my own Facebook page about, what are you thankful for? What's been good this year? And y'all can go ahead and drop that in on this too if you want to. What's been good in your life and so forth. So this is the body. And his feet. I pushed my table sideways there. I'll put another foot, as Bob Ross would say, a happy little foot. We'll kind of give him some feathers down here for his britches. So my cartoon that's on today's USA Today, Mississippi Today page has got two turkeys on it. So you can kind of see, if you want to cheat, you can go to MississippiToday.org and see my cartoon. And of course, you'll see where we're going with this. We'll give him some feathers there. Well, I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you're watching today. Grateful for everybody who's been paying attention to all the great work my team that I work with at Mississippi Today has been doing during the pandemic and during all the stuff that's been going on in the state. They've done some great work. I want to say I'm thankful for them and thankful for you too. Hey, Mary, how are you? Thank you for watching. Hey, Robert. We've got some good audience today. Glad y'all are being part of the show. And of course, you can be part of the show by your comments, and if you want to post your drawings as you're working on them too. So we got the drawing here of the turkey that we're working on. We got a big head on them and got a long neck. And what we're doing is we're kind of doing sketchy looking feathers. And however much detail you want to put on these feathers, it's up to you. But the main thing is we want to kind of give the sensation that he's round, kind of a butterball, I guess you could say. How many of y'all have wild turkeys near where you live? We do. I used to live over near the Natchez Trace, and so I'd always come into work, and I would always see right there as you get on the Natchez Trace, all the wild turkeys because they knew they were protected. Wild turkeys are really kind of wily and kind of smart, and you'd always drive and see them kind of congregating and, I would say, giving the bird to people, but that's not nice. But technically, I guess you could say they're doing that. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of do the outlines of the feathers here. So there we go. I mean, technically, I probably should have brought those down maybe a little closer over on this side, but we'll just make him a little fatter over here. It's okay to make mistakes too. But yeah, I always love seeing the turkeys. I think they're pretty cool to see out in the wild. There's always a ton of them on the Natchez Trace, and there's a stretch between Clinton and Madison on the Trace. If it rains, a lot of times you'll see them out. They'll come up there too. So we'll. All right, so we're gonna kind of make the feathers with some straight lines. I'm using this calligraphy pen basically because you can get all kinds of lines out of one pen on it. How's that? Hey, Rebecca, thank you for watching. Thanks for being part of the show today. So we're actually, my sons are coming in. My middle son is going to go hang out with his brother up in college for a couple days because he's a senior in high school and he's going to go to the same college. So he's going up to hang out while my eldest son finishes up his finals. And then they're going to come back and we're going to have the whole family together. You know, it's funny because I remember being a kid. I have a lot of really strong memories about Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. My parents would always take us up every year from Atlanta up to Maryville, Tennessee, where my grandparents lived. And because my parents were from the same town, we would split it. We'd go one year, we'd go to one grandparents, the next year we'd go to the next. And so what usually happened was you would have the grandparents would all come. Like, for instance, my dad's parents would come to my mom's parents' house if it was their year. But the supporting cast always changed. I always had relatives from each side of the family every other year. And I always had these really great eccentric uncles because my grandfather had like a ton of brothers. They were great uncles. And they were wonderful. They were all the Marshall brothers. They were all like 6'4". They were real tall. Had big ears and were just great. I had one named Uncle Frank who never got married. He was engaged for a long time and something happened. But anyway, he was just loved us kids. And he would always come and he'd have a coat on and he'd always have chewing gum in his pockets. And we could reach into the coat jacket pocket and grab some chewing gum. You know, that was always the thing with Uncle Frank. And we had Uncle Joe, who was always he was kind of cranky, but he was just really cool, really smart with it in the now kind of guy. And then on my dad's side of the family, of course, the Ramseys and the Wests. And I always loved my West cousins. They were always really kind of like, even though they were maybe like second cousins, they were always a lot closer. And that's, of course, when I would see my uncle and my aunt, my dad's brother and sisters. And, of course, my uncle would bring his kids. And one of his kids, of course, is Dave Ramsey, the famous radio guy. But that was back before he was Dave Ramsey, the famous radio guy. He was just my cousin at that point, and he still is. So it was always fun. And I always have these really distinct memories of, you know, old men eating way too much food. Because it was like these old uncles, these old great uncles I had, would literally not eat, I think, for the whole year. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of giving textures to the feathers, and I've switched to a pigment liner, which is a Stadler a pen. It's the same kind of company that makes these. So, but I would always have these great memories of us sitting around laughing. You know, we didn't really talk politics back then, even though there was a lot of politics going on back in the 70s. But it was just fun, and we'd go and I'd look out and see the Smokies off in the distance, and I remember being asleep in the car and I would hear the crunch of the gravel as we'd drive into the driveway to my grandparents' house. So, you know, I mean, Christmases were always with my immediate family, but Thanksgivings were always with my grandparents. And, you know, my parents have passed on. My wife's mom and dad are still with us, but we're not going to go over and be with them this year because my father-in-law is not super well, and we don't want to get him sick, potentially. So, but we love that. So we got Mr. Turkey here. He's going. Now, if you were coloring it with colors, you could do this a gray color and maybe a brown color on that and some red up here on the top. So let's just give him some feet. And since we're kind of running low on, can we see the feet? Yeah. Hey, Alexander, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching, Linda. I appreciate that. Glad every single one of you are here today. Thankful for you as we're talking about Thanksgiving. But, you know, we'd go and we'd stop in Chatsworth, Georgia, which is a little town in North Georgia near the Tennessee line. And I always enjoyed stopping there. They had a place called Ken's Restaurant. They spelled it K-I-N-S. And Ken's would have a great breakfast. So Dad would always talk about party base, which I think has other connotations than just Thanksgiving. But we would go eat a big breakfast. And then by the time, because he said we got to stretch out our stomachs. And I think Dad was right, because I think it worked out pretty well. So we got the feet going there. We would go and then we'd drive up there. And I remember coming in and we go at the gravel driveway, and I'd see my grandfather be out waiting for us. My grandfather Ramsey wasn't terribly tall. He was probably 5'8", 5'7", and I'm like 6'2", so I'm a pretty tall guy. But he wasn't, but he was a giant in my eyes. He just was funny, hard worker, had a great work ethic, very wise, survived the Depression, and went on to a lot of the stuff that my cousin Dave talks about. My grandfather basically lived, and that was he was a good Methodist who basically didn't. He prayed in the closet, and he kind of lived his faith out in the world. And so, but he'd be waiting for us, and we'd come in and give him big hugs. My grandmother would be in the kitchen working, and she'd come out and give us a big hug. And the Macy's Day Parade would be on, and the dinner table would be set, and the kids' table would be set. There'd be all kinds of food. Now, Maryville, Tennessee, the first Methodist church there was where my grandparents went, and a lot of the chefs and a lot of the ladies that would cook, they liked to experiment with the casseroles. They were real big with Jell-O, made a lot of stuff out of Jell-O and stuff they probably should have never made with Jell-O, but they made it with Jell-O. And they would make pies. Now, food was always good. And then the uncles would go fill up their plates to where I thought the plates were going to break. And now what I'm doing right now is a thing called hatching. I'm just basically putting in some gray, and I'm making his wings stick out there a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to color this in here dark. And this kind of gives it a 3D look. See how the wing is starting to pop out there a little bit? And I miss doing this. Thank y'all so much for watching with us. Appreciate it. And I want to thank our new sponsor, Trust Care Kids, too. They're going to be opening up a clinic soon in Gluckstadt that'll be for only kids. It'll be open 7 days a week. And, of course, if you've ever had kids, you know that you truly need a clinic 7 days a week. Well, we're catering the turkey this year. My church actually does turkeys and hams, and we're going to get one from there, and then we're going to get one from a local restaurant too, and with some of the fixings on the side. And then we're going to homemade some of the fixings, like green bean casserole, which is a good southern by the way, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food? Mine, I don't know. I'm a big turkey fan. I like the turkey. I like that with a little bit of gravy on the top with the mashed potatoes. And you got to make the volcano with the mashed potatoes. You got to put the big hole in it so you can pour the gravy so it doesn't leak out all over your other things. Although technically, as my grandfather always said, it all goes to the same place, so it doesn't matter. I think he was a wise man. I was thinking about my grandparents, and I was thinking about this COVID thing, and I was thinking, well, I'm kind of glad they're not here. I miss them. They've been gone since about 2001. But I also know that my grandmother, as she had leukemia, and as she was sick, I would go and hang out with her, and she would tell me stories about how her grandfather was neighbors and friends with the Wright brothers, and how she would get to go visit she'd go to visit Orville Wright and go see the airplanes and go get to sit on his knee, and he'd tell her stories, and they're just really cool stories. She told me all these great things, and and I didn't realize that her grandfather was in Mississippi for a while. He was a circuit rider, and a Methodist circuit rider, so he co-founded Wood College in Matheson. So that was just really neat stuff. But she would tell me stuff, but then she started telling me about the 1918 flu. And she was a little girl when that hit. She lived in the Maryville area. And of course, it wasn't as bad as, say, if you were in Philadelphia, which was one of the worst spots in America for the flu. But she said she really didn't remember too much about it, just because thankfully they all stayed pretty safe. But she said she remembered a lot of people getting sick and a lot of people dying. And she said she just remembered everybody being really scared. And so, but I was thinking about her and what she'd seen in her life. Of course, she survived the Great Depression. She survived World War II and the Cold War and everything so we got the turkey going here. By the way, that's what we're drawing. And I always try to think of her whenever I get too worried about situations. So what I'm doing now is I'm just hatching my turkey. And so what I do is I start with the thicker lines first and then come back in with a thinner pin to add this hatching. Because if you add thick lines on top of thick lines, it just kind of gets muddy. And you want a little bit of contrast between your lines. So we got the lines there. Hey Karen, thank you for watching. Keith, welcome. I'm glad you're watching too. Y'all be sure to drop a comment in. Oh, we got Keith, you like the sweet potato casserole. You know what? I agree with you. Sweet potato casserole is fantastic. Robert St. John had a recipe for one of his sweet potato casserole in one of his first, I think it may have been in his first book he did with Wyatt Waters. And I got to tell you, Amy made that and it was fantastic. It was like eating sweet potato pie. It was like super sweet, but it was so good. So excellent choice there. So we got the big turkey there. I don't know how much more we need to do to him. We can give him some shading on his. Now, we are working on coloring sheet book from Mississippi that we did earlier this summer, all the coloring sheets, and I'm going to start back doing a few more of those too. And so if there is something that you think in Mississippi that I need to draw, you can add those to the comment section as well. I want to hear from you on that. I did the Max Museum in Meridian, was the most recent one I did. That was really a lot of fun to draw it. And if you hadn't been able to check out the Max Museum, it's really neat. It pays tribute and honor to all the great entertainment icons that we've had here in Mississippi. There's our turkey. So we got the head shaded, we got the feet, we got the turkeys. Now let's add a twist to this. Since I don't know, how big of a turkey do y'all get at your house? I always like getting one that's too big so that we have lots of leftovers. Because I like eating leftovers for probably 2 or 3 days after Thanksgiving. And then I love to make turkey sandwiches until there is no more turkey. So we'll add a little bit of grass here. Grass I think I learned to draw grass from peanuts. Not like the food, the comic strip. Just make some lines there. So what I'm going to do is, hey Sydney, thanks for watching. Glad you're. So now, if you're going to draw a pilgrim, of course, you got to have the hat, right? So let's add a pilgrim in here. Can we see that? Yeah. So we're going to add the little brim to the hat. There's his hat. I'm glad that we didn't have to wear hats like that, although my mom had a hat very similar to that in the 70s. She really did. It fit perfectly on her helmet here. So, and let's see. Well, we're not going to put eyes on him because his hat's pulled down over his eyes. He looks like something out of Schoolhouse Rock, but that's okay. So let's see, we'll give him a little hand here because he is holding a little tiny axe. Oh, on Thanksgiving, I remember we would eat, the big meal, and everybody, of course, my grandmother was pretty good about, she would always jump in and start doing on the dishes, but everybody was pretty good about jumping in there and helping. I was a kid. I didn't help. I do now, but I didn't then. But we would go in and Of course, by then there was no Puppy Bowl or anything like that, but the Macy's parade was over, and then usually we watched, Dallas or the Lions play, and usually it was pretty bad football. His little boots there. You got his little buckle. Yeah, he's got his little arm here. So when you're drawing clothes, you always add the wrinkles in with a little heavier line because you got shadows like that. And then what you can do after that, let's get another skinny pen. Now this is a micron. And so, hello Wanda, welcome to the show today. Thank you for being part of it. I appreciate it. I see we got a good audience. I appreciate y'all joining us for the first Marshall Ramsey Drawing Live episode here on Mississippi Today's Facebook page. If y'all hadn't checked Mississippi Today out, and do, MississippiToday.org, we have done I've been really proud of this year. We've been able to do a lot of great coverage of everything from COVID to a lot of the state issues, state politics issues, and been able to make a difference. And so really proud of the team that I have the honor of working with. So we're going to give Pink Pilgrim guy a little bit of shade there. There's his pants. So when my grandparents passed on, of course my wife and I are from the same town over near Atlanta in Marietta, Georgia. And we would go over to go visit our families then. And of course, when we first got married, we moved to Houston, Texas, and we lived there for a while. So we didn't get to go back for that first Thanksgiving. We had it at home, and I can really honestly not even remember that first Thanksgiving. But then we flew home for Christmas. But later on, then we went to San Diego, and then people came out to visit us a lot because it was San Diego. And then we moved here. And once we moved here, we were within a car drive, obviously, of Atlanta. So we went back every year for Thanksgiving. And so we would go back, and our families really never, one didn't go over to the other's house or anything like that. We would have two separate Thanksgiving meals. And so I would eat two giant meals every Thanksgiving to the point where my stomach really exploded. And it was having them in the same town, which was nice because we didn't have to shuffle back and forth between two different places, but we were there in the same town, so we had two meals. And I remember how much food that was put out there, and I miss that. I miss going to see them, and like I said, my sisters were going to come out and come see us this Thanksgiving, but they weren't able to because of obviously various sundry reasons, because of a global pandemic and so forth. But you talk about things that you're thankful for, and I think this Thanksgiving, with 2020 and all the stuff that we see, and it's like everybody's really super bummed out on various reasons you see on Facebook, and so I asked that question, and it was amazing some of the responses I got. I had people that were happy because they were getting organ transplants. I had people that were happy because they had two jobs. I had people that were happy because they had beaten cancer. So, it does remind you that life kind of does go on. So that was kind of cool. All right, we're going to finish up this drawing and start another one in a minute. I tell you what, why don't we add some trees? And we don't really want to add too many trees to mess up this is your dominant part of the art, so we're going to just kind of add those in there. Sorry, see if I can get it back in frame. There we go. I tell you, the weather around here lately has been so wonderful and so pretty, and the fall colors have been superb. So we're just going to add in a little bark. Once again, it looks like scribbling, but we'll bring it all together in just a minute. Frankly, most days my drawing is very much scribbling. All right, so we got I like drawing trees in the fall. They have a lot of personality. Add some, so once again, you get the thinner pen here and start adding in the detail. Some more scribbles. Of course, as you know, tree trunks are Hey Susie, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. So if you have any other Thanksgiving suggestions for things for me to draw, you can add that in the comments section, and because we're about to get started on a new drawing here in a few minutes. So we're just going to finish up and add a little bit more. And feel free to post your drawings in the comments section, because really, honestly, that's what this is about. It's about sharing. And you can write your favorite Thanksgiving memory if you want to do that. You know, I've noticed a lot of friends putting up their Christmas decorations already, and normally I would say that's taboo, that you don't want to forget Thanksgiving, but I have to admit, I've been listening to Christmas music already just because it's kind of nice to have a something to take your mind off of some of the doom and gloom. We're going to add a little stump here, like he was going to cut the turkey's head off with the axe on there, but it's probably not going to happen. Now, you can make them, you can add him okay, he's a giant killer turkey now. How about that? So we could add some trees kind of in the background. Maybe just get a little thin pen like I've got here. This is at micron, and you can add some. So it doesn't have to be super heavy lines. It could be real thin lines just to kind of make it look like, you know, there's some trees off in the distance and maybe a field. So you can add some taller grass. I could throw a deer in there because it seems like there's a ton of deer out these days. I was walking Pip yesterday. Pip is my dog, for those of you who don't know. That's kind of basically Pip right there. And Pip and I were coming up this one section on the road where there was a trail into the woods. And on that trail there were 4 does eating. And so Pip decided to flip, and she got quite loud because she does not like anything with 4 legs, including deer. But it was pretty cool. I got a really cool picture of one of the deer with its white tail. So I could stick a deer in there if I wanted to. I guess I could do that. That's your drawing. You can put anything you want in. If you want to put birds in it, you can put birds in it. If you want to put a jet plane flying over, you can do that. I mean, that's what's so beautiful about it. Although I don't think the Pilgrims would have quite understood that one. So we'll just, maybe we'll do this right here. You have a couple of deer peeking around, looking around the corner. Okay. Oh, we did this before. If there's any of these drawings you like and would like to have a copy of, or if you'd like to have the original $150 donation to Mississippi Today, just go to the donate button at MississippiToday.org and write in the box, this is a donation for the Marshall Ramsey drawing of this date, and tell me which drawing it is, and I will put it in an envelope and mail it to you with a copy of my book, of my cartoons. That is one way for you to be able to help contribute to Mississippi Today. So that's one of them. The other way, of course, is I want to thank Trust Care for Kids. Before we get started on our next drawing, I want to thank them for being part of the show today and for their sponsorship. They're opening up a new clinic in Gladstadt, which will be a 7-day-a-week children's-only clinic. And so you can check out their Facebook page for more information. All right, so what are we going to draw next? Hey, Judy, how are you? Thank you for being part of it. The show today. Hope y'all are enjoying it. Tell you what we can do. We can draw a family at the dinner table. How about that? Does that sound good? Thanksgiving? Think you can handle that? People. It's kind of scary. Or we can do pilgrims and Indians, Native Americans. We can do that. If you want to do that, that's great too. So you let me know. Okay, here we go. I always liked Rockwell's drawing of Thanksgiving that was from the four freedoms. And the freedom from want, of course, they have the family of Thanksgiving. So I guess I could do a modern version of that. How about that? That sounds like a plan. Very good. We got Grandma with her bun because she's been got the grandma glasses. So what's the best kind of turkey do you like? Do you like best? Do you like fried turkey, which is pretty darn good? Do you like the honey glazed? Well, that's honey glazed ham. Do you like the smoked turkey? Do you like the regular turkey? Do you like to buy a turkey? I had never had, I know this makes me sound very sheltered. I had not had a fried turkey until about 5 years ago. Holy cow, that was good. That's some good stuff. Of course, you always see the stuff on the news where people blow up the neighborhood because they stick a frozen turkey in there. So we're going to have Grandma here with her apron on. Well, we got Grandpa. So let's just make Grandpa had actually cooked the turkey in the fryer. So he's burned. His glasses. His clothes are torn. And you got some soot. A little bit of smoke. All right, let me grab a micron. This is a pigment liner. This is a 0.05. So it's a little bit older, a little bit narrower. I mean, not older. Grandpa lost a tooth. Now, when you're drawing people, you have to be super accurate, especially if it's a cartoon. Hey, Mary. Glad you're with us today. Thank you for joining. All right, I think we'll go for the third drawing right now. We'll do some more turkeys just to kind of give you some more practice on the turkeys. Okay. Once again, you got the turkey head with a little bit of the comb over the thing, over the beak. Get the head. Work on the feathers. Wonder what turkeys eat on Thanksgiving. Kind of wonder that. Yeah, I think Thanksgiving's underrated as a holiday. Now, Black Friday as a holiday. How many of you are going to the stores and going shopping for Black holidays? Maybe I'll have the turkey going Black Friday shopping on his computer. I don't know what I want for Christmas this year, to be honest with you. I've kind of don't want anything. I'm just kind of glad everybody's healthy and happy at the house right now. I've become my dad. Every year you'd ask Dad, hey, what do you want for Christmas? I don't know. Don't want anything. Of course, you get him something and he'd be like, oh, okay, I think I've already got that. So every year I would get him a signed John Grisham book because he liked reading. My dad was a voracious reader. He would read, several books a week. So he always appreciated that. So when he passed away, I got his collection of signed John Grisham books. And I tell you, the sad thing is the books that I wrote that I signed to my parents, I have back too. So it's like I didn't really want to get rid of those. But yeah, Dad always was hard to buy for Christmas. You could get him something for Tennessee because he was a big Tennessee fan. But he always like, I just want you kids home. So, now I look at my boys and I'm like, I just want you kids home. I've become my dad, and which is okay. I can only get it. I used to remember he used to always get a funny look on his face when I'd drive off and go home. And, I was all excited about to get ready to get back and get my life going again a little bit. And now the shoe's on the other foot. I can watch my sons drive off. And I miss my oldest son every day when he's off at college. Of course, with technology, you can keep up with him, but, he's so busy. I don't bother him too much. I just check in on him occasionally. I know his mama does talk to him a lot. But, so we got some feathers going there on the turkey. And the other day, He came home for the weekend. It was really the first time he's been back. I think he came back one other time too. But so the second time he came back technically. But I remember as a kid, my grandparents would come from Maryville down to Atlanta, and it was 2.5 hour drive, and it's about that for him to come see us now. And I just remember I'd take a nap and wait for my grandparents to come because it made it go quicker when I fell asleep. Except it was hard to go to sleep because I'd be excited. So now, when I know he's on his way, I take a nap. Of course, I get nervous with him driving. I think every parent should, I guess. One of the gifts my mom gave us, this was actually from a cousin of ours named Ethel, that when my parents lived in New Jersey, Dad got transferred up there. Ethel lived up there, and there was Big Ethel and Little Ethel, the mother and the daughter. And so Big Ethel had a recipe for pumpkin bread. And so my mom had this great pumpkin bread recipe that she'd gotten from Ethel. And it's been passed on now down to, and Amy cooks it. And my sons love it, and I love it. Of course, it's pumpkin cake, technically. But it is so good. You can make muffins out of it. You can put chocolate chips in it. But really, honestly, I just like a loaf of pumpkin bread. And Amy's modified it a little bit so she doesn't put quite as much sugar in it as my mom did. But still, it is fantastic. So, I don't know how many of you have ever been up to the Northeast. We went up to Massachusetts to go visit friends back, it's been 20 years ago now, but we went out and stayed on Cape Cod and went around Boston, and they're from Worcester, and of course live in Oxford, Massachusetts now, and they were really entertained by us because they thought that we had the worst Southern accents in the history of man, and we technically don't, but we thought that they honestly had the worst Northern accents we'd ever heard, so we kind of get along really well like that. But he kind of gave us a tour, and we're driving around, and we went past this little place right on the seacoast where they had this little concrete looking structure and little bars on it. Inside of it, you could see a rock. And he said, "That's Plymouth Rock." I said, I'd always picture Plymouth Rock to be huge. Here's this giant thing where the Pilgrims came and landed. And of course, there's some question naturally with everything in history. Was that where they really landed? But was that really Plymouth Rock? Where that location was, but it was, lo and behold, it was labeled Plymouth Rock, and that was so cool to see that. So let's just go ahead and give them this turkey's hanging out on Plymouth Rock. This was the moment when things went really south. So we'll just go ahead and add a little bit of water here. Water gets darker as it gets closer to the horizon. And it's just lines. And get maybe a little bit lighter here because it's getting shallower. So you kind of have that look. And we can add the boat. I don't think I would have enjoyed riding on the Mayflower. I think that would have been a kind of a no fun kind of thing to do. I mean, you put me on one of those cruise ships in a storm, and I'm not real happy on that either. I couldn't even imagine, so I'll just put little windows here. See that? Yeah. Hey, Robin Ray, appreciate you. And Becky, thank you for watching too. I appreciate y'all hanging in there for the whole hour. We're going to probably wrap it up here in about 10 minutes, but we're just going to continue to draw on this drawing. And I want to thank you, of course, for being part of this today. It's Mississippi Today. Of course, it is powered by you, and I appreciate you. All the donations that you have given and all the readership. Our numbers this year are incredibly good, and I appreciate everybody finding us and enjoying our work, trying to get the news out to you. So I just kind of, it's funny, I'm trying not to draw the Pinta and the Nina and the Santa Maria. Wrong time. So this is about the moment I think the turkey realized that things were going to go south. You know, things have been going pretty good at that point. And then this ship comes on the horizon full of people that want to eat turkey for Thanksgiving. Well, you know, Ben Franklin wanted to make the turkey into the national bird, right? So we would have had turkeys on our coins, and we would have eaten eagle for Thanksgiving, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to do this again next week. It is going to be the Friday after Thanksgiving, but I am going to, even though I have the day off, I'm going to come in and we're going to do this drawing lesson because I know a lot of you will be at home and you will be needing something to do with your kids, and we will do a series of drawings for them. So next Friday at noon on this Facebook channel, tune in and we'll draw and we'll do this. But in the meantime, I want you to add some comments on this comment section to talk about some of the things you would like to draw for next week. I will come up with some ideas and we will have a list of things and we will have a good time. So, and I will come up with some new stories. But we're going to continue to do this. I don't know why. I mean, I feel bad I stopped. Just getting lazy in my old age, I guess. So I wonder if there was ever Plymouth Rock was written on the rock. That's how they knew it was Plymouth Rock. You can always tell when your pens are running out of ink. They don't make solid black lines. Oh, Jessica, thank you so much. I'm glad. I'm glad that we're back and there for a while. I just missed y'all. It's always nice to hear from y'all and, you know, get some positive stuff on Facebook for a change. So we can add some clouds. Maybe a couple of gulls. One of the things I like to do for sky is do swirls. And swirls are just kind of a fun way of giving texture, and you can make it look like there's clouds off in the distance. And because really, you think about it, all a drawing is an illusion. It's being able to put ink and lines and white space and dark space and negative value and positive value to create the illusion of reality. It's to trick our brains into thinking we're seeing something we're not seeing. So you can might make that look like a cloud off in the distance. Maybe do one of those over here. Oh, can't really see it too much because. And probably by next week, this may be a little bit clearer because finally after 3 years, I'm going to be getting a new phone. So I'll have a little better camera. Kind of excited about that. For those of you who follow me on social, you know I take a lot of pictures. So I'll be having actually a good camera on my phone, and I'm kind of excited about that. So let's add a little more texture, a little more detail as we get ready to wrap up. Once again, I want to thank my friends at Trust Care Kids for being a sponsor. That's Trust Care Kids will be opening up soon in Gluckstadt. Go to their Facebook page for more information. It'll be a 7-day-a-week clinic, which, as those of you who have children know, that's pretty much imperative for it to be open 7 days a week, because you never know when your kids are going to get sick, or they're going to eat something they're not supposed to, or they're going to fall down and need a stitch or whatever, and that's what they're going to be there for you. So check out their Facebook page for more details. It will be in Gluckstadt, though, 7 days a week, coming up soon. So I want to thank them for sponsoring today's event. Hey, Betty, glad you're watching today. Thank you for joining us. Wanda, thank you for joining us too. Appreciate you. What kind of phone am I getting? I'm getting a iPhone 12 Pro. I'm not getting a Pro Max. I don't really like the really big size. I know it has a little better camera in it in the Pro Max, but it's going to be a Pro. That is a better camera. I have an iPhone 8 right now. I am an Apple guy. I've had Apple since 1980, let me do the math here, 1991. I bought my first Mac computer. So, but I do look forward to it. I'll buy 256 megabytes of memory on it, which should be about right for me. I'm also getting a new iPad. I've got an iPad Pro that I use to draw on using Procreate. That's what you see my cartoons of Mississippi Today are done computer. But I bought the small one before I started actually drawing on it that much. And I'm going to buy myself a big one, a 12-inch one, because needless to say, my drawings are a little sloppy. And part of it's because the screen size is so small. So I'm going to be getting that too. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's kind of my Christmas present to myself. Hey, Joanne, how are you today? Thank you for being part of the show today. So we got the turkey looking out. He sees the pilgrims coming. Here they come. Maybe they got a pilgrim water skiing back here. I'm surprised cruise ships hadn't figured that one out yet. By the way, we keep getting calls from the cruise lines wanting us to take a cruise. And I feel bad for the guy because he's a very earnest guy, but I'm not quite ready to get back on a cruise ship yet. I love cruises. They're fun. I just don't want to get on one and have to stay on one for 2 months. There we go. So we got him back there. He's water skiing. Add a little bit of fun to it. All right, so here, we'll kind of review what we've drawn so far today. I'm going to take the phone out of the, okay. There we go. There's the full drawing of that one. And here's the full drawing of this one. And of course, we started off today remembering how we used to draw turkeys like we did in elementary school, where you just put your hand on there. And yes, I have a very big hand. And of course, I had Grandma and Grandpa with the fried turkey, because Grandpa had thrown the fried turkey into the fryer while it was still frozen. Do not do that. Hey, look, we're going to go ahead and get ready to sign off. Once again, I want to thank Trust Care for sponsoring today's event, Trust Care Kids, and also want to thank my good friends here at Mississippi Today for all they do. Check us out, MississippiToday.org. Definitely a lot of good stuff on there. Our data's on there, a lot of good COVID information. You can find out what's going on in the schools. Of course, you can keep up with what's going on with our state government and with what's going on with education in the Delta, too. We have a fantastic team of folks I work with. I'm very proud to be part of it. Oh, yeah, Rick Cleveland, too. You can always check out Rick's latest column. The governor himself writes for us, too. Look, I hope y'all have a great week. I will see you next Friday, which will be the day after Thanksgiving. So I hope you have a blessed Thanksgiving. I appreciate it. I'm going to turn around and say hello. Y'all have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving. Love y'all, and thank you for being part of this.